Hey, welcome to this webinar. I am Sean Smith. That's me on the screen there. And this webinar is going to be about 10 quick coaching tips for your direct sales business. So this is specifically for people who are in direct sales. I know we have many people from different companies. I'm not going to speak specifically to a single company. I might give different examples from different companies, etc. But this is for anybody that's in direct sales. I want to give you some of these coaching tips that are simply going to help you in your business. They're going to help you with your sales, help you with your recruiting, leadership, all of that stuff. So my intention is to go for about 45 minutes or so, and I want to give you some of these simple coaching skills and proven coaching skills that you can immediately implement in your business. And so what we're talking about is four things: the difference between coaching and training, why coaching is the biggest missing piece in this industry. And I'm not talking about being coached. I'm not talking about hiring a coach that coaches you, although that's another big piece. I think in all of society, we could always do better with a coach, but that's not the point of this webinar. I'm talking about you being a coach, you having coaching skills that you can use in your business while you're out there in the field. I'll give you 10 proven coaching tips that have changed my coaching practice, philosophy, business, etc., that you can implement right away and increase your influence. And then I'll talk about how you can get advanced coaching skills in a 5-week period of time. So let's jump right into the expectations, and then we'll get into the content right away. So first of all, I want you to suspend any disbelief that you have for this training. And what I mean by that is a lot of people show up to trainings, whether it's webinars like this or even live events sometimes, and they bring with them all of their disbelief, all of their limiting beliefs, all of their stories of I can't, and always looking for reasons why not and justifications. Just let all of that go for not only this training, but anytime that you have an opportunity to learn something new. You've got to allow your mind to be expansive. You got to allow your mind to think inside of possibility instead of inside of lack and restriction. If you have questions specifically about the slides or anything you want to communicate with me, then you can type it right here in the chat box on your control panel. My advice is that you take notes of inspiration, meaning the things that you think up, not just the stuff that I have on my slides, because this is getting recorded, so you can go back and catch all of the information if you want. And then stick around to the end. What I'm going to do at the end, some of you might have to remind me on my last webinar, I forgot. Stick around at the end, and I'm going to give away a private coaching package worth $750 to one of you, but you have to be with us live. That means all the way till the end. So let's get into the discussion of training versus coaching. And I want to be very clear. I'm not trying to say anything negative about anything at all. Nothing that I say in this webinar when I talk about training or I talk about teaching or I talk about things other than coaching, I'm not judging what they are. I'm just creating distinctions for you. Training is an important part of this industry, and coaching is an important part of this industry. And there's an abundance of training and very little coaching in my definition of coaching. And I'm going to explain to you exactly what that means. So, training, the way I'm using it, is basically when you tell people what to do or you tell them how to do it. But training does not remove people's resistance. So, if I'm on your team and I have fears and limiting beliefs and all these internal blocks that I'm carrying around, and you tell me that I should make phone calls, you tell me that when somebody asks me what I do, I should say this, or when somebody objects, I should answer it like this. You can give me all the training in the world. But if you're not able to remove any of my resistance, then all it is a battle between your training and my fears, right? Your training versus my internal blocks. And what I can tell you is that my internal blocks are going to win all the time because they haven't been addressed. They haven't been shifted, right? So you can have all the fantastic training and your training can be really good and it can be the stuff that works. But if my blocks won't allow me to implement your training, then I'm not going to take the action that you're telling me to take. And also, you're not going to benefit from it, right? So that's where coaching comes in. Training and coaching are like partners, right? There's training, and then after the training is done, there needs to be coaching for anybody that needs it, for anybody that has fears. Sometimes it's vice versa, or they walk hand in hand, but I want you to understand that these are two distinct parts of leadership. And one of them is just generally missing. It's missing in society. It's not missing only in uh, oh, shoot. I'm getting a lot of people saying the microphone keeps cutting out and I'm breaking up. No, it's not just you. I'm getting a bunch of people that are saying that. Did it just start right now? Or has it been going the whole time? I'll go ahead and start over if you can hear me. Somebody's saying it's better now. It's been going on the whole time, going on for about a minute or so. Okay, so let me do this then. It's technology is crazy because I used this exact same setup yesterday and everything is fine, but I'm going to try it without my headset and we'll see. Hang on a sec. Okay, so I just pulled my headset out. Hopefully that will help. Does that help at all? Let me know if that makes it any better. I'm just using the computer input now. So far, yes, I'm good. Okay, cool. So that should take care of it. Sometimes these headphones just, for whatever reason, they got a little bug in them or what have you. Okay, so I apologize for all of that, and I don't want you to miss anything. So I'm going to go back, and hopefully that's not too big of a pain, but I'm just going to at least start with this slide. So training versus coaching. Shoot. Still breaking up. It's acting up again. Cutting out again. Okay, so let me... All right, hang on a second. Oh, boy. All right. Yeah, the clicking sound was just me clicking on my computer, so that's not going to continue. So what I'm going to do is... Oh, man, I'm still going in and out, huh? Okay, not good at all. Okay, so let me... I'm going to try something here. I'm going to stop the recording. All right, so welcome to this webinar. I am Sean Smith. I'm the founder of Elite Coaching University, and this webinar is going to be on coaching, but specifically coaching for your direct sales business. So I'm going to give you 10 quick coaching tips that you're going to be able to implement in your direct sales business. And my purpose tonight, I'm going to go roughly 45 minutes or so, and I want to teach you some simple skills and some proven skills that you're going to be able to implement in your business. And so we're going to do four main things: the difference between coaching and training, why coaching is the biggest missing piece in this industry. And I'm not talking about you getting coached, although that's a piece that most people really need. I think we all need it in society. I'm talking about you being able to do coaching, not being coached by somebody else. We'll talk about these 10 proven coaching tips that you can implement immediately to increase your influence, because your business is really all about influence, right? And then finally, I'll tell you about a program that I'm running soon that can help you get a lot of these advanced deep dive coaching skills in just 5 weeks. So what I want you to do for this webinar is to suspend your disbelief. You know, if you have any limiting beliefs about what's possible and what you've done in the past and what hasn't worked, let all of that stuff go. Maybe you have some beliefs about webinars and how they're supposed to begin and all that. Like, let all of that stuff go so that you can be in a place of expansion and be in a place of possibility. If you have any questions about the content, you want to talk to me at all, and obviously tell me if the slides go out or if the audio goes out or whatever, type it in the webinar chat box here. My advice to you is to take notes of inspiration, not the things that I have on my slides, because you can get that in the recording, but the things that you think about, your inspired thoughts. That's what I want you to take down and act on, and then stick around to the end, because I'm going to give away a private coaching package worth $750 to one person, but you have to be on the line live. So let's get into training and coaching. Now, everything that I say is not meant to be negative. I'm not saying anything bad about training or bad about trainers in the industry or anything like that. I'm just wanting to create distinctions here. So there is a definite distinction between training and coaching. They're both necessary components in direct sales, but one of them, coaching, is almost entirely missing, at least the way I'm going to define it, right? So training is basically when you tell people what to do or you tell people how to do it. And there's no lack of abundance when it comes to training in this industry. But understand the shortcoming of training is that it doesn't do anything with the resistance. So if I'm on your team and I've got all kinds of internal resistance, I'm afraid of making phone calls, I'm afraid of telling people, what I do, I'm afraid of asking people to come over to my house, whatever, and you tell me how to do the phone calls, you give me a script to use, you tell me what to say when people object to something, but you don't help me get rid of my internal fears, then basically all we have is a fight on our hands. And that fight is between your training and my internal blocks. And what I can tell you is that 99% of the time, my blocks are going to win because they haven't been addressed, they haven't been moved. And those are the things that are actually holding me back. It's not the intellectual knowledge of training that is holding anybody back in this industry. It's the internal piece that causes them not to take action, right? So coaching in contrast is guiding people through those internal blocks so that they can find whatever answers, they can become aware of their strengths, and they can move. And then they can actually implement the training that you gave them or that somebody else gave them. So coaching and training go hand in hand, but they are different, right? And a lot of people use coaching and think that they're talking about training, or they think that coaching encompasses both of those, or vice versa, that training encompasses both of those. And I don't really care that we split hairs and worry about the actual words, but you have to understand these are two different components in leadership in direct sales. And coaching is what almost everybody needs, and that's what's primarily missing. And it's because the reason everybody needs it is because coaching removes the resistance. Coaching removes the actual block. And so if most people are being held back by their emotional blocks, and most people don't have the coaching ability to remove those blocks, then imagine if you did, right? So that's why I say that coaching is the biggest missing piece in your business, because people already know what to do. And if they don't already know what to do because they're brand new or they just got promoted to a new rank or something, they can learn what to do very quickly. There's no shortage of training in direct sales in any company, and really in the world of personal development. There's no shortage of training, but the training is generally intellectual knowledge. Now, I'm not saying that all trainers only give intellectual knowledge. There are trainers out there that do have coaching skills, right? So again, don't think that I'm trying to paint everybody with the same brush or anything like that, but I want you to understand the distinctions between the two. So there are people out there, I know many of them, that do have the ability to train intellectually and coach against the emotional resistance. But you have to understand that intellectual solutions cannot solve emotional problems. And so I came up with a phrase yesterday, and it's a phrase that I never really thought of before, but I think it's perfect to just nail everything that people are struggling with in the direct sales world, like all under one umbrella. And so I just call that emotional activity resistance. And what that means is people are resisting doing the activities. They're not resisting the concept. They definitely don't resist the desire. They want whatever it is that's available in your company, but they're resisting the activities. So people are afraid of doing phone calls. People are afraid of networking. People are afraid of calling their friends and family. It's not that they don't understand that they should, and it's not that they don't understand the language in the scripts that they are given. It's that they're afraid. It's an emotional block toward doing the activity. So that is the biggest problem in the industry. If that's the biggest problem in the industry, then let's solve the problem instead of getting better at training. So my question that I want to propose to you is, what if you had those skills so that you could actually address the problems that are standing in between you and your goals and your team members and their goals? What if you could make a small amount of progress or a large amount of progress for everybody on your team, not only in business but in their lives as well? What if you could implement that saying that says something like a rising tide lifts all ships, right? What if you had the ability to address the emotional activity resistance that everybody has? Now, that doesn't mean that everybody's going to show up and actually take your coaching, but what if you had that ability? So everybody on your team has you as somebody that can help them through their emotional resistance. Now, I'm not trying to turn you into life coaches. I'm not saying you have to become life coaches. I'm not saying you have to be therapists and counselors or do like super deep emotional work and make people cry and stuff like that. If you want to, great, but you don't have to do that. What I'm saying is, I've been coaching this industry for a long, long time. I have coaches that coach for me. Every single day, we're on the phone with people in the direct sales industry. And every single day, we are addressing their emotional activity resistance. And what I can tell you is we're only using a few fundamental principles. And so I had a thought recently, what if I taught that to this industry, right? What if that is, the missing piece that I believe is where the void is, and what if I taught what we generally do as a coaching company to you so that you don't have to refer people out and you don't have to hope that they will go get their problems, solved on their own. You can handle it. And a lot of things are very shallow in nature. A lot of things can be handled very, very quickly. So I'm not saying that you need to have people come into your office or come over to your home for 2-hour coaching sessions either. Some of these things can work in minutes. And it's amazing what kind of a shift people have in a good coaching interaction. So that's what I'm really passionate about right now in teaching this particular industry. And it's something that can work with any company, any product, because we're dealing with people. We're dealing with people's resistance. We're dealing with human behavior. We're not dealing with product specific information or company specific information. So I just want to check in with you if this is making sense to you, if you're seeing the connection that I'm making, because part of my intention on this webinar is to convince you. And I usually don't do webinars to try to convince anybody, but part of my intention, completely transparently, is to convince you that coaching is a missing piece in your business. And if you could increase your coaching skills, you could drastically improve your business, your success, your leadership skills. So if this is making sense to you, just type in the webinar here that it makes sense. So I actually probably jumped ahead of myself, but I'm going to go through these slides anyway. If you're not able to oh, this is huge. Oh my goodness. Every time I say this, I have to inhale a little bit because the gravity of this statement is gigantic. And I want you to really catch on to this. If you are not able to coach people through their emotional activity resistance, if you're not able to address the actual problem, then your success in your company, the tangible success, the money you make, the ranks, etc., your income, and your freedom, which is why you got into this business in the first place, all of those things are victims of other people's fears. So if I'm on your team and I'm afraid of making phone calls and you don't get paid unless I do the activities, then your income and your freedom and your advancement is only dependent on me getting over my fears. And we all know that there are relatively low percentages of people in the direct sales industry that actually take advantage of the opportunity and really go after it, right? So let's say you have 100 people on your team, maybe 90 of them might be stuck inside of their own internal blocks. So that means that your success is a victim of 90% of your team's fears. Now, you can do whatever you do with the other 10%, and that's great. But what if you didn't have to change anything? You can still do what you normally do with the 10%, but you could elevate the 90% because you could go after some of their actual fears. I mean, just think of how much of a game changer that is, right? So when you are able to coach people through some of these fears and any of the emotional activity resistance, your success, your income, your freedom, all of those things are now not only controllable by you, but they become exponentially growable. Exponentially growable. Exponentially because now the ripple effect really takes place. And if you elevate 20 people on your team, let's say, and they start doing some of the work and they get the momentum in their business, etc., then your success and your entire team's success, because I know it's not all about you, becomes exponential and the momentum continues to carry, etc. So this is really about you taking back ownership of your success. It's taking ownership back of your team, right? So just a couple scenarios here. Sometimes with team members, I kind of alluded to this a moment ago. If you have team members that are afraid of doing the activities, then you have to hope that they get the help that they need, or you might have to refer them to somebody like me or my company or another coaching company that you know about, or you might have to, tell them to go get a coach or whatever. And hopefully they'll go do the work and then they'll come back to you, come back into your business and be willing to do the activities again. But you know that the longer they take away from the business, the less likely it is they'll ever come back in the business. But what if you could handle these things on the spot immediately yourself? And let me also tell you about prospecting. See, a lot of people that you come up against, you talk to them about trying your product or you talk to them about your business, they have fears of their own. They have doubts and they have their own questions and they have their own justifications and they have their own stories that are going on in their head. Well, coaching is about guiding people to finding answers within and finding commitment within. So what if with all of your prospects, you could use your coaching skills and help them get to a powerful, committed decision? And I'm not saying you can use your coaching skills to get people to say yes. I'm saying you could use your coaching skills to get them to say either yes or no. And a clean no is as good, sometimes it's even better than a yes. It's definitely better than a wishy-washy yes. So you can use coaching skills in your prospecting as well and just have more clean, committed conversations. And when people get into the business, they get into the business instead of just saying yes because they were talked into it or they weren't fully committed and then they leave, later on. So I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on this slide. This stuff works. I'll just put it that way. Antonella's income tripled. Cody said she put in 80 team members in a month and did $28,000 in her team production in a month. But more than that, she's in Mary Kay. She got into her Cadillac, but she found balance in her life in the middle of that kind of production. Gigi said she paid off 8 credit cards, confidence increased, $3,000 increase in sales, etc. And what all of these people did is they removed their emotional resistance to the activities. That's pretty much it. Because you're in a business where if you do the activities, you're going to get results, right? I've only met one person honestly that that is doing the work but not getting the results. I've only met one person. Most people that are not getting results they're simply just not doing the work, or they're not doing the work the right way. So we got to remove the resistance to the activities, as I said. So let me tell you a little bit about me. I'll do the Cliff's Notes version. I'm a father and a husband. That's my family down there. Sybil, my wife, my daughter McKenna, my son Exley. My wife and I have been married 19 years as of tomorrow. Tomorrow is our 19th anniversary, and I've just had a blessed life. My journey into personal development started when I was 13 years old, and I was nearly killed by my next door neighbor in a hit and run vehicle accident. He ran over my bicycle as I was riding it, doing about 50 miles an hour. And by all accounts, I should have died in that accident. There's no reason by the details of the accident that I should have survived. But obviously, my time here apparently wasn't done. And I thank my creator every day for that second chance. But that's when I started to look at life differently. I realized that it can end at any moment without warning, right? And if life can end at any moment without warning, then I'm going to do everything that I possibly can to leave it all on the field, so to speak, right? To make the most of it. And so I made a promise to myself that I would do everything I can to live a life of excellence instead of settling and living in mediocrity. But even though I made that promise, that's what I did for the next 20 years or so, because I didn't understand what was happening inside. I didn't understand, these coaching concepts, etc., until 2005, when I was at a seminar and a life coach walked me through a process where in about 15 minutes he fundamentally changed my entire life. He changed. I was carrying all kinds of weight around me, and I was not understanding why I couldn't succeed. I was in direct sales at the time, and I was, had all the work ethic, but I couldn't make it work. And it wasn't until he helped me realize that I had this gigantic internal block, limiting beliefs, fear of money, fear of success. And that's when everything shifted for me. And shortly after that, I said, I want to do that for other people. And so I spent 3 weeks. I went and got certified to become a master results coach 3 weeks in a row, 21 days straight. Most incredible training I ever had. And then I just wanted to share my message, right? And a few months after that, I sort of fell into the world of direct sales. I did a lot of work with Mary Kay and eventually got into a bunch of other companies, and I never left. And so since that time, over the last 11 years, I have been training, teaching, coaching tens of thousands of reps and consultants all over the world in all kinds of different companies. So that's where this information is coming from. So my question is, what if I could teach you these fundamentals? Again, there are a few fundamentals that we use all the time. What if I could teach you what we use to address all of the resistance that comes up in the form of perfectionism and procrastination and fear of phone calls and fear of failure and fear of success and marital problems and parenting problems and overwhelm and time management and organization? Like, that's how all of the sabotage shows up in this industry, but that's never the actual problem. Those things are always solutions to the problem. And so what we do as qualified and trained coaches is we help people identify what the actual problem is and then help them dissolve some of these sabotage patterns. And so what if you had the ability to do that, and you could do it quickly? You could do it with anybody, prospects, team members, anybody at your parties, obviously customers, but then it also spilled into your family, parenting, marital relationship if you're married, like everything. The coaching can change every aspect of our lives. And so what if you were able to do that? And again, you don't have to go super deep, but you could go as deep as you want. And then you are able to apply those fundamental principles to your business, right? And not only just to your business in terms of other people, but to yourself, right? What would that be like if you were able to apply these fundamental principles? Because a lot of coaching can be done on yourself. There's a lot of concepts that you can self-coach around. Some of them cannot, but there's a lot that can. So what if you understood the mindset at a deep, deep level like a life coach does, and you were able to apply it to yourself and you were able to apply it to your business? Just I want you to think right now of what your business would be like. what would your business be like? And you could think tangibly, you could think intangibly. Tangibly would be I'd be able to get into the car, I'd be able to make an extra $3,000 a month, I'd be able to hit this rank. Or intangibly might be I would just be more free, I would have the courage to talk to the people that I want to talk to. Just type in the webinar here in the chat box. Some of the things that you would be able to experience either tangibly or intangibly if you were able to remove those blocks for yourself, but also with other people. And it's important that you at least consider this, because you've got to give your unconscious mind an idea of how things can change. And this is where that suspension of the disbelief comes in that I talked about a moment ago. You've got to suspend the ceiling that you have, and you got to be able to tell your unconscious mind, you know what, if we do a little bit of work here, and we can remove some of the problems, solve some of the problems, and remove some of the blocks, like this is what we have to look forward to. And a lot of people don't ever get to that place in their business or anything else, and so they can't really fully engage, right? Because there's no reason to. This is about giving your head as well as your heart some leverage about what's at stake here, right? So I love what some of you are saying. Tatum says, I won't have to work at my job. I know that's a lot of your stories. That's why you're joining your company, so you don't have to continue being employed. You'd be able to build a team that stays with their business. Yes, Jackie, that's key. A lot of people can talk people into the business, but they can't keep them in the business. And coaching will help you do that. Lorena says more time, more money, be able to work with the people that I like, hugely successful. I would become a director. I'd be able to build a better future for my children. Awesome. So let's get into that. I'm going to give you 10 quick tips that you'll be able to use. Now, I don't want you to try to implement them all right away. Some of these take a while to sort of chew on, and some of these take a while to practice, etc. But these are some of the fundamental coaching concepts and principles that we use all the time. Now, I'm not going to give you coaching tools in this webinar. I just don't have the time, because the tools are not as important as the foundation. And what I can tell you, the foundation, once you have that and you start to practice that, then some of the coaching tools that you put on top of the foundation, some of the simple exercise that you can do, questions that you can ask. There are some coaching questions that are like voodoo. I mean, in a good way, right? Like positive voodoo. You can just ask people a certain question that's intentionally confusing or intentionally gets them to look sideways at their life or their problem, and they get it right away. And you don't really have to do much of anything except answer the questions. But those tools don't matter unless you understand the foundation. So that's what I want to give you here with these 10 tips. So tip number 1, you always want to keep people at choice. And what I mean by that is keep people in 100% responsibility as much as you possibly can. And obviously, you are one of the people that I'm talking about. You've got to keep yourself at 100% responsibility. Because in every situation that you'll ever encounter, there's always at least 2 choices, always. And usually there's many, many choices. But a lot of times people fall into victim mode, and they think they have to do certain things, or they think they didn't have a choice, so they just went this way. But never is that true. Now, sometimes you don't like one of the solutions or one of the possible options, but you still have a choice. And for you to maintain responsibility is energetically important. For you to be able to say, I have 2 choices, I don't want that outcome, so I'm going to choose this one, keeps you in control, and your unconscious mind hates being out of control. So whenever you or anybody else try to find excuses for why you're not successful in your business, or you try to blame your team members because they're not doing the things that you tell them how to do, or you tell yourself that it's the certain season that you're in and that's why you're going to take time off from your business, and sometimes, those things are valid, but most of the time we just come up with justifiable reasons to quit or to hesitate or to justify why we're not getting the success that we want. And all of those excuses keep you in victim mode. And that's bigger from an energetic standpoint than actually finding the solution. It's bigger for you to get out of victim mode. I would rather you say, I am choosing not to work my business right now because of this, this, and this, and it's an intentional choice, than to say, I can't work my business right now because it's too hot outside, because it's too cold outside, because it's raining, because it's snowing, because it's September and the kids are back in school, because it's December and everybody's thinking of Christmas, because it's August and everybody's trying to soak up every last ounce of summer that they can, because it's June and everybody's now getting into summer, because it's July and everybody's thinking about independence, because it's February, because somebody must have a birthday in February, so I can't work my business in February, because it's January and everybody is blah. All of that storytelling keeps you stuck as a victim. And so energetically, we have to stay in control. We have to stay at choice. The second piece here is related to control, but it's specifically talking about actions. So when you set your goals and you create an action plan to get whatever it is you want in your company, or you help somebody else create an action plan, you've got to focus on actions. You got to focus on the activities. What most people do in society, which means most people do it in the direct sales industry as well, is they focus on the outcome. They say, I want to get into this car by the end of the year. And they think that by wanting to get into the car, it's going to drive them to get into the car, right? Like the goal itself will provide the inspiration. And very rarely does the goal also provide the inspiration. And if it does provide short-term, shallow inspiration, it's usually popped the first time somebody says no or questions whether you're able to do this or whatever. Anytime you find the adversity, you go astray, right? But when you focus on controllable next steps, you focus on your actions, then your unconscious mind can stay committed to the thing that you're doing instead of dreaming about 6 months from now, you might get this result that you really, really want. And if you keep thinking 6 months from now, you probably won't do the activities that you need to do today that's going to lead up to that 6-month outcome. That's the human condition. If you've experienced that, then just say that's me in the webinar, because most people experience that. They have long-term vision and they really want their long-term goals, but the longer the goal is, the further away from right now the goal is, the safer it is to not take immediate action. So it's okay to have that vision for long term, but you also have to have immediate urgency. And for people to have the urgency that most people need in direct sales, there's got to be clarity on their actions, and there's got to be controllability. Meaning, if your goal is to recruit a certain amount of people into your business by the end of the month, you don't control that. You don't control whether they say yes or whether they show up. But if your goal is to invite 30 people to your meeting, you control that. Now, whether you invite 30 and all of them show up, or you invite 30 and none of them show up, you still did your part. And that extra step of clarity over what is it that I can do and what can I not control is critical for most people. I'm telling you that if you implement that piece right there, and you have team members, if you implement that piece, it would make a world of difference for most of your team members. That's one of the easiest things to implement, and one of the things that gives the biggest return on implementation, right? So just make that shift. Number 3, this is another gigantic, I mean, all of these are important, but some of these are like extra important or extra problematic. And this is one of them. In our society, we are programmed that who we are as a person equals what we produce in the world. So our value as a person, and our value in society, and our value in other people's judgments and perspectives is determined by what we can produce or what we do as a performer. So separating the person from the performance means separating your value from your achievements. The way we're programmed we tend to think that if we achieve more, whether it's in the corporate world or in business, or we lose the weight, or we can run super fast or hit a ball really far, whatever, the competition is, if we can achieve more, then we can feel better. The problem with that is the opposite must also be true then, right? If we don't achieve our goals, then we get to feel bad. And that's what most people are actually afraid of. They're not afraid of the failing. They're afraid of feeling bad after the failing. And that's because there's an unhealthy connection between who you are and what you do. And if you know that if you fail at this goal, you're going to feel bad, then there's emotion at risk. And when something is emotionally risky, there's more of a chance that you'll resist it, right? In order to remove the resistance, you've got to remove the risk, the emotional risks specifically of doing the activity. And this is how you do it. You separate your value as a person from your accomplishments. In other words, you cannot achieve your way into more value as a person, and you cannot fail your way into less value as a person, right? Who you are and your value on this planet doesn't get determined by how many team members you have and whether you get to sit in the right part of the arena and what your rank is. As soon as you can disconnect between those two things, then you'll be willing to take more action. And obviously, you take more action, you'll get more results. So this is a critical one that most people aren't even aware of. But when that shift happens, it's amazing what you give yourself permission to do. This next one here is specifically about leadership, and coaching is a part of leadership, especially as it's applied to direct sales. Most people listen in order to jump into the conversation, right? Most people listen so that they can respond. What I'm asking you to do is listen to understand, not listen to respond. Because if you're listening to respond to whatever this person is saying, you're going to not be as present as you could and should be with that person, because you're formulating your response. And while you're formulating your response, you're no longer listening. Even if you're listening a little bit, you're not listening deeply. And one of the best ways to make people trust you is for them to feel important around you. And the best way to make people feel important is just listen to them. Just pay attention to them. It's not that difficult. You don't have to tell anybody that they're important to you. Show them they're important to you by paying attention. And the way you do that is you are present when they're speaking. And if you jump out and you cut them off, stop, apologize, let them finish, and then say whatever it is you're going to say. If you need to take notes because you don't want to forget the things that you want to say, then do that. People would rather you take notes and pay attention than not take notes because you think that's a sign of weakness for whatever reason, but not pay attention to them, right? So listen to understand, not to respond. And I promise you, some of the responses that will come to you are going to be easier because you weren't trying to pre-formulate them. Number 5, with any kind of leadership or coaching interaction, you want to start on a high note and finish on a high note. You want people to feel good going into the conversation, and you want people to feel good leaving the conversation. Now, sometimes you can't feel good about the results because there aren't any results that have changed. They haven't recruited anybody in the time that you've been talking or whatever, but they can feel good about the future, or they can feel good about the work that you just did, or they can feel good about what the next steps are. But you always want to give people some level of hope. And the way to do that is ask them about what's good in their life, right? And I get so irritated by the way that we're generally programmed to communicate in society, right? If somebody asks another person how their day is, most people will respond as though they were just asked, to list the worst 5 things that happened to you today, right? Somebody's like, "Hey, how's your day?" And you go, "Oh, my back hurts and I woke up late and then there was a bunch of traffic and some idiot got into a wreck in front of me and it messed up my day." It's like, "Oh, I didn't ask you to just spew negativity on me." But that's how a lot of people communicate. And it's it's miserable, right? To communicate that way. And so I want you to infuse positivity in every aspect of your life and in your business and your relationships. And definitely when it comes to leadership, you've got to do that because you need people to enjoy talking to you. You don't want people to be resistant to talking to you because they think that that you're going to make them feel bad, or they think it's going to be awkward or something like that. You want people to be open to coming to talk to you. And one of the ways to do that is this piece right here. Always start and end on a high note. Number 6, your goal in your business, if you want leverage and if you want the ability to benefit off the services and efforts of others, is to create independence. If your goal is to create independence, then act like it all the time. Everything you do, everything you say, all the training that you give, the answers that you give people, give all of that from the filter of creating independence. So if I was going to create independence, how would I answer this person's question about where to find this month's percentage deal, right? You could give it to them, but what you're doing is you're training them that they need to come to you for the answers. That's not independence, that's dependence. And what a lot of people are doing unknowingly is they're creating independence in their business. And then I like to joke around and say, all you've done is created an adult daycare center, right? Everybody needs you to change their diapers. You can't have the freedom that's available in your business if that's the way that you're leading people and if that's the way that you're coaching people. So one of the fundamental intentions of coaching is always independence. We want to give people self-awareness. We want to give them the ability to answer their own questions before they need help, and then be there when they do need the help because they couldn't find the answers on their own, etc. So I want you to input that into your business as well, and you'll just feel so much more free when people are acting independently. But that starts with you. You train people how to act, right? And many people are training others how to be dependent, but then they get frustrated that they're not independent. They can't do things on their own. It's like, well, you set that precedent from the very beginning, right? So you got to lay in the bed that you made. Number 7, this is one of my favorite aspects or concepts rather of coaching. The most important trait in coaching is just to be ferociously curious. We all have the ability to be curious, and we all have the ability to ask questions based on that curiosity. So this is not a skill set that anybody needs to get. It's just more of a permission and maybe a shift in perspective and understanding that people just need to be asked questions generally, right? They don't need you to give them the answers. You don't need to give lectures to people. You just got to stay ferociously curious and explore the issues with them. I always say the best coaches on the planet are 3-year-olds, because what do they say constantly all the time, right? Why? 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 Why is the sky blue? Why can't I have that cookie? Why can't I have the whole bag? Why do we do this? Why don't we have money? Why are you fat? Why am I not fat? Why am I skinny? Why are you skinny? Like it's fascinating and sometimes very painful when you get to experience an unfiltered 3-year-old, right? Now I'm not saying be totally unfiltered, but tap into that childlike curiosity and wonderment that we all have and that we all need, and use that as the basis of your coaching. Number 8, to that point, explore questions whenever possible, whenever appropriate. If somebody asks you a question, explore the question. Don't just give them the answer. This shows up a lot in objections, right? We have a lot of training out there on how to overcome objections. My personal philosophy is that you shouldn't overcome objections. You can dissolve the objections and you can create an offer that's so good that there are no objections, right? But I don't want you to overcome their objections, because that makes it sound like you're in a tug of war and you're trying to win, right? You need to overpower them. I don't want you to overpower anything. I want you to explore. So if somebody says, I don't have the time to do this business, instead of you saying, yes, you do, or I know you do because I didn't think I did, but now I do. I realize that I do. Or Johnny also didn't have time. He was a lawyer. You're not even a lawyer. You're just something less than a lawyer, but even he had time to do it. So, you know, step up, right? Of course, I'm being a little facetious here, but that's how a lot of people take those interactions. They take them in a confrontive kind of way. And when you just invalidate people's objections by giving your answers to their objections, then it's actually rude, right? It's rude. I think it's disrespectful. I think it's irresponsible to give your answers to somebody else's questions. So instead of just answering their questions, explore the question. If they say, I don't have time to do this, go, wow, how much time do you not have? Because what you might find is people have this ongoing perpetual story of, I don't have time, but they don't realize that it doesn't take like 30 hours to get started. And maybe if you explore that conversation, you realize that they actually do want to build this business. You can help them realize that they're watching 12 hours of TV every week. So would you want to trade in knowing who won Dancing with the Stars for something that could give freedom to yourself and your family? You know, you can help them solve some of their issues if you get in and explore with them, because you want to be an advocate for them. You don't want to be an adversary. I've never really put those two together, but that's really important. You don't want to be an adversary. You want to be an advocate. And the way you do it is you just get in and explore. So you just ask questions about the questions. And sometimes you can say, what do you mean by that? And just ask an open-ended question, and you'd be amazed at how many times people can't even answer their own objection, or they can't justify what they just said. Sometimes they'll untie their own knots if you just put it right back on them. Now, you don't want to be confrontational when you do this. You don't want to do it with, attitude, like you're rebutting, like you're a lawyer or anything like that. But you want to have the energy of exploration and wonder, like, just tell me more about that. And that's the best way to get people to undo their own challenges and untie their own knots, as I said. Number 9 is to understand that there's a perpetual conflict between head and heart, and explore it whenever you possibly can. All of our fears and pretty much all of our sabotaging behavior patterns, all of our doubts, all of our limiting beliefs, everything that's holding us back is in our head. The head is where fears are created. And your head is afraid of anything that it doesn't understand. Your head is afraid of anything unfamiliar. Your head is afraid of losing. Your head is afraid of looking dumb. Your head is afraid of not being capable of whatever the next venture is. Your head is completely afraid of the unknown generally. So your head, your intellectual committee, right, is designed, listen to what I'm about to say, it is designed to keep you stuck. Now, it's not designed to keep you stuck for the sake of being stuck. It's designed to keep you stuck for the sake of being safe. But it's your intellectual committee that creates and holds on to and protects all of your problems. All of the solutions that you're looking for, when we're talking about the things that hold us back in, direct sales or in personal development, all of those solutions are found in the heart. So a lot of times you have to navigate personally with yourself, or help other people navigate between their head and their heart. You have to help them realize when they're stuck in their head and help them get into their heart, because your heart has the emotional power to outweigh the intellectual blocks of your head. But most people don't know that, or they don't realize it. They can't catch it when it's happening, and they don't know how to maneuver in order to do that, right? So you've got to really be aware of and catch this conflict and call it out whenever you can, so that you can help people, yourself included, overcome the head's fears with the heart's strength, or the heart's certainty, or the heart's confidence, or even just the heart's desires. Your head wants to know that you'll succeed, and your head doesn't want to commit to anything unless success is guaranteed. Your heart just wants to try. It's really that simple. And they're fundamentally different muscles and different energies, right? So number 10 is whoever has the problem has the solution. This is my favorite one of the whole thing, because when I learned this, it changed so much in my energy around coaching. I used to always try to figure out what I was going to do to solve somebody else's problem. And in doing that, I was trying to come up with, my own ideas. Like I was saying earlier, I was formulating my responses, etc. Somebody would come to me with a certain problem. I'm like, man, what can I do to solve that problem? And then I realized over the course of many years of coaching that the human spirit has everything it needs. I don't need to give you anything to help you overcome and untie your problems. You have it inside of you. Wherever the problem is being held, the solution is also being held. In fact, it's inside the problem. So I can't give my solution to your problem. It'll never work that way. But if I understand that my job is just simply to help you sift through the problems in order to find the solution that you hold on to, that makes my job so much easier. And it doesn't take any of this intellectual, like I don't have to be really smart to do that. I just have to be willing to explore. I have to be ferociously curious. And I can jump in with you as your advocate. We can just sift through this stuff until we find your solution. Now, even though whoever has the problem has the solution, whoever has the problem will almost never find their solution. So I want to be clear about that. Coaching is a necessary piece because, as one of my friends says, you can't see the color of your own eyes, right? You can be the best dentist in the world, but you need to sit in somebody else's chair to get your teeth fixed. So we can't see what's in our blind spots. Therefore, we need an outside perspective. But good coaching is not bringing the solution into the conversation. Good coaching is guiding the person to their own solution. And I'll tell you, that changed everything for me once I got that piece. So these are some quick coaching tips. My advice to you is to go back and listen to this over again, because it'll sink in more and more and more. And these are conceptual. These are not scripts. These are not coaching tools or exercises. But when you understand this foundation, the energy with which you move through the world can shift a little bit. And direct sales is all about your magnetism and your people energy. So when you start shifting that stuff, you don't have to memorize scripts. You don't have to memorize rules. You don't have to, just regurgitate information, because people are going to want to be around you more. People are going to know, they're going to feel safer in your presence. You're going to get more comfortable. You're going to have more fun. You're going to be more joyous, and you're going to be more joyous to be around, right? So these are the foundational shifts that need to make. And then when we stack on top of that all kinds of exercises and coaching tools and when to do what to look for, and how you can respond, then you hit that positive voodoo place that I was talking about earlier, right? And that's where it becomes immensely powerful. So what I want to do now is I want to tell you a little bit more about that process. I have a coaching certification program. It's all online. That's starting very soon. My intention for this program when I started it was to help people that want to be life coaches as a career be better coaches, have more confidence, have more certainty, teach a lot of the tools that I use on a daily basis or my coaches use, all the things that I learned, 11 plus years ago, and everything that I've learned in between. So my goal was to teach people that want to make this a profession, right? But I've never had that realization the way I sort of alluded to earlier. I've never invited our direct sales community into that life coaching certification process, because I thought, it would just be a little bit of a mismatch. But I realized that if I can teach you how to scuba dive, right? If I can teach you how to go 100 yards below the surface, if I can teach you the depths of true coaching, then you can play as close to the surface as you want. So if I can teach you how to scuba dive, but you choose to snorkel, that's fantastic, right? And so what I want to do is I want to help you apply these deep dive coaching processes into your business. And so I want to give you access to this life coaching program that I'm teaching live, but I also want to help you apply it to your business. So I'm going to add something to the normal program to make it more relevant to you, right? So let me tell you a little bit about this program. It's going to be at least 15 hours of online instruction delivered via webinar. There'll be a Facebook page, have all kinds of support. We'll go through 10 deep dive coaching and training modules, all the stuff that we use on a daily basis as a coaching company to coach some of your team members or people just like your team members, right? And so I want to share those strategies with you, and we're going to get into some of the deeper work, like how do you change people's beliefs? How do you remove some of their emotional blocks? How do you do some of that deeper work? Now, it might only be applied to you, and that would be beneficial many, many times over if you were able to just go through this program and have some of the energetic and emotional shifts for yourself. But when you're able to do some of these things for other people, it's amazing. And you're going to hear from at least one, if not two people in a moment that have implemented this in their business, because I want you to hear what their experience has been. You're going to have an incredibly strong support system and a community of other people who are also learning these processes. And you're going to have access to a bunch of life coaches, basically. I mean, imagine just having unlimited access to a bunch of life coaches, right? And one of the most powerful things about this program is the way it's delivered and the way it's consumed. And it's a 360-degree experience, meaning you're going to learn the material, but you're also going to practice the material. And while you're practicing the material, you're practicing on somebody else, which means while they're practicing the material, they're practicing on you. So you are getting coached while you're learning how to be a coach in whatever capacity you want to be. And so people come out of this kind of training with this kind of content fundamentally changed. I got two messages from people that said the audio is going in and out. So if you can hear me okay, can you just type in I hear you? So, because a lot of times, most of the time actually, it's just people's individual. Okay, good. I'm getting a lot of I hear you. So now I know it's just the individual people um, so you just got to handle it on your end. So awesome. Wow, there's a lot of I hear you. There's a lot of you still here. That makes me so excited because that means you're fascinated by and you're intrigued by human behavior. That's really what we're talking about here, right? And so this program will give you the opportunity to dive into human behavior, coaching principles, how to make pattern shifts and how to release limiting beliefs and all the stuff that I've learned over the last 11 years that I can possibly teach online in a 5-week class. And you're also going to get a certification if that's something important to you. There's an exam that you take at the end of the class, and if you pass the exam, you can get a certification if you want. But the certification is not where the power is. The power is in knowing the skills. It's like the difference between knowing how to drive and having a driver's license, right? Your driver's license doesn't mean anything if you don't know how to drive. And so that's what I want to give to you, right? So I want to bring a couple people on the line. If you are interested in this, I'm going to tell you more and tell you the investment and all that stuff, and I'll give you some bonuses. But if you know you are interested, you can go to the website that's on the screen there, elitecoachinguniversity.com/BCC. But let me check to see if I can bring in a couple people on the line. Let's check Diane. Okay, looks like you're here, Diane. I just unmuted you. You're going to have to unmute on your end to come in and make sure that we can hear you, Diane. So I'm still seeing you as Gray. There you go.
There we go. Sorry about that. I didn't
No
remember touching
problem.
that and muting it.
Yeah, no problem. So, what I'd love, Diane, is for you to just share some of your experience of implementing some of these coaching tools, like in your business and different ways that you actually applied it, and share whatever you want to share.
Thank you, Sean. I have been a leader in a direct sales company for 24 years, actually, this month.
Nice.
And yeah, and by the way, tomorrow, I'm just going to say this. Tomorrow may be Sean's anniversary, but tomorrow is also his birthday.
It is. Yes, guilty as
Yes,
charged.
yes. Anyway, I met Sean many, many years ago. He helped me. He reached his hand down. I was deep in a pit, and he reached his hand down. I reached up, and he helped me out of that pit, coaching me. And yet, as a leader in a direct sales company, I was one of those that I thought the more I trained, the better my unit would be and the better everything would be. And I just kept training and training and telling them what to do. And things weren't happening the way I wanted them to happen. And it was through Sean that I learned how to focus on the individual person, how to focus on the effort instead of the result. And it really truly does make a difference for your team members, your unit members, because I remember being in a situation where I felt like I had worked just as hard as the other people, and other people are getting the recognition, and I'm sitting there and I wanted to just like, hey, look at me, wait a minute, I've worked hard too, would you please tell me I've done a good job? And in the way I was doing it, it was all focused on results, and I wasn't focusing on the person and listening to them. And once I learned how to coach, it took so much frustration out of my leadership. It took, it put peace into it. I found out I couldn't fix people. As Sean said, they have the answer. And by asking the questions and listening, they'll come up with those solutions. It's up to us to just keep asking those questions and meeting them where they are and allowing them then to move forward at their pace, knowing that we are there cheering them on, supporting them all along the way at whatever pace they want to go. Knowing that when I support them that way, when they choose to move faster, they know that I'm going to be there and work with them through that. So this is an amazing program. I so agree with Sean that this is the missing link. And I paid a whole lot more money. And if it's Michelle that's on there or Linda, they did too. They may say it. Michelle said that last night. I think I paid like 10, 20, 30 times as much. I don't know. It was a lot. Of course, I did it live instead of on the computer, but it's worth every penny that you invest. And I know that not only will it change you as a leader and the people on your team, in your unit, your organization, it's going to change your life and how you even work with all people in your life.
Hmm. I
And I like
love that.
myself better when I look in the mirror. And you know, when an
Uh,
offspring of yours and an adopted person in your group who became a director, when they say, you've changed, we really like this Diane better, then you know something wasn't quite how it should be.
That's awesome. And a lot of people are appreciating what you said, Diane. Getting thank you here. So thank you for sharing that. And I mean, that last piece that you said was so critical. You like yourself better. People can feel it. It's different. And you mentioned peace early on, and that's ultimately what we're all after. Even though a lot of people don't know that's what they're after, just to be more peaceful, to make life feel a little more effortless is so cool. So thank you for that. And I also want you to hear from Michelle. But you know what, Michelle, hang tight a second. Let me go ahead and finish the details on this program, because some people are interested in the program and they want to know more of the details, etc. So let me go ahead and do that. So back to this program, and then I'll get to Michelle. We have this live online course beginning June 15th, and that's just a couple days from the recording of this webinar, at least. So if this is something that you are interested in, we have an opportunity for you happening right away. And I know some of you are up against the very end of your fiscal year, the end of the year in your company, and I get it. And so you're going to have access to all the archives. You're not going to lose anything. You can go back and listen to it whenever you want. You can join the live calls when you can make it. But I'm also going to offer a very significant discount to hopefully make it a no-brainer for you. But let me tell you a little bit about what the program entails. It's all deep coaching stuff. I call it neurotransformational coaching. This is when you can help somebody change their neurology, change their physical being, right? And it's got foundations in neurolinguistic programming. I talk a lot about transformation and what that means. We study the brain a ton because if you really want to help people shift their lives, you have to understand how the brain works and you have to understand how to make changes in the brain. So we're going to study the unconscious mind, the way it needs to be communicated to, the way it learns, the way it operates, what it wants, what it doesn't want. You have to go at the core source of behavior, which is our brain, if you want to make fundamental changes and long-lasting changes in behavior. So we'll study everything that I've learned about the brain as it relates to human behavior. I have a coaching process called an Ignite framework. It's basically a 6-step framework for you to use in your coaching interactions, in your leadership, whether we're talking about a 3-minute conversation or a 30-minute interaction or 5 hours, right? However long it is. There are certain components to a good coaching interaction that are required. So we talk about building rapport, increasing what we call sensory acuity, being more present with people, how people take information in, which is called the internal representational system, how to get leverage, how to make sure you have permission to coach. I have some content that I've created over the years called the 16 components of commitment. And without sounding like I'm just tooting my horn, that'll change your life because it helps us understand why we don't commit to the things that we don't commit to. And we don't have an intelligence problem, we have a commitment problem on the planet in general, right? So we'll go into that content and that'll change so much about your goal setting and helping other people, etc. We'll study our environments, the impact that they have and how we can shift them and overcome, negative behavior patterns and creating positive behavior patterns, etc. And then just some general things about being a really good coach, how to create success teams for yourself and for your clients and for your team members, etc. And you'll get a lot of these tools that I mentioned earlier. You'll get exercise that you can literally just read. You can be on the phone with somebody, or even if you're in person, people don't care if you're going to be able to help them if you have to read something to help them. They don't care. So you're going to have like cheat sheets almost, right? So the whole program is designed to help you go deep dive and increase your coaching ability and your skill set to a very high degree. And then you can choose how much you implement it with other people, but I can tell you it'll fundamentally change your life. So the investment for this program when I sell it to people who are wanting to get certified as coaches is $497. And that in itself, is pretty low when you consider what's available, right? I mean, this is the information that shifted everything for me and allowed me to make literally millions of dollars in the last decade. And this is what most people need to remove their resistance in whatever walk of life they are traveling. We also have a payment option. The payment option is $167 times 3 payments. But I told you I would try to make it a no-brainer for you. So there's a webinar special. You can get a $200 discount. That's 40% off the program if you do it in full. You have to use the coupon code there, DS, which stands for direct sales, 200. So go to that website, click on the link that says register, and enter DS200, and you will see $200 magically disappear from the shopping cart. So you'll only pay $297. I mean, you can still do the 3 payment plan if $297 is too much, but honestly, I'm trying to make it a no-brainer for you. This is information that has fundamentally shifted myself, my family, my parenting, my relationships, my everything, confidence, self-esteem, everything. And you also have a money back guarantee, so there's no financial risk on your part. Now, here's the unique thing, right? This program is a fast moving program if you listen to the live calls. We're going to have 2 calls a week for 5 weeks and get the 10 modules in a 5 week period of time. You don't obviously have to listen to them all live. You can listen to them on your time. But I'm still holding true to my 30-day money back guarantee. So you basically have 30 days to get your money back in a 35-day program, right? So you can listen to the first 8 calls. And if you don't think that I've delivered, if you don't think that that you're getting your money's worth, or you just don't think it's valuable for whatever reason, you don't want to stay a part of it, then just ask for your money back, and we'll refund you, no problem. So you have that money back guarantee. I also am offering a fast action bonus for the first 5 people on this webinar right here that take action and jump in. You're going to get a 30-minute private call with me. It could be soon, or we could wait till the end of the program if you want to wait to see, what happens in the program or whatever. And it's just, a coaching call to use however you want. And I'll help you in whatever way that I can. I'll help you in coaching. I'll help you personally if you have something that you want to talk about personally or what have you. And that's just my way of um, rewarding the fast action takers. So thank you, Tatum. I appreciate that. This offer is amazing. It is, if I can speak openly and honestly, it is. It's good content. It really is good content, and it's what the world needs. Honestly, and I'm not saying that because I'm teaching the course, because a lot of this stuff isn't mine. I didn't create it. Some of it is, but a lot of it isn't. It's just the stuff that has transformed my life, and it's the stuff that I've seen hundreds of people get transformed by, through my coaches and just through our coaching company. So I can stand on the work and say this work is what the world needs, and I want to teach you a lot of that so you can apply it into your business. So I've got 2 more things to do. I want to tell you who the winner is for the $750 coaching session, but I also want you to hear from Michelle. So I will ask for Michelle to come in first. So all of you have to wait just a little bit longer to see if you are getting this $750 coaching session. So Michelle, you now
That's
know that
hilarious.
everybody's on the edge of their seat
Like,
and
you
paying
have
attention.
to listen to me. What do I want to talk about?
Yeah, what do you want to talk about? You have like no more than 45 or 50 more minutes, I would say.
That's right. So I agree with every single thing that Sean said, except for this is good content. This is phenomenal content. This is life changing content. This is relationship changing content. This is business explosion content. It's, and I really wanted to just speak to you from the heart tonight, and I cannot express to you how much how it worked for me, and everybody is different, how myself changed, and then how I started to change in my business and with my consultants and with the team that I had the opportunity to work with the other people that I had the opportunity to train beyond just my team. And then the biggest shifts for me were how they transformed, as Diane so beautifully and eloquently stated, how it transformed in all areas of life, in marriage, in relationships. It's this is the missing piece in direct sales. I think it's the missing piece on this planet. But since we're all in the direct sales industry, Diane has many more years than me, but I've been in direct sales since 2006. And as a leader for like 9 of those 11 years. And this, for me, just to speak very personally and be a little bit vulnerable with you, the fight between the training, that was huge for me. And when Diane shared that, it really touched my heart, because I remember like thinking like that I would spend all of this time and prepare all of this content for classes that I would be teaching, or conference calls that I would be doing, or hosting events, or what kind of prize would be the thing to motivate my team. And I looked to the left and to the right, and there were a lot of people that I was working with who that seemed to be working for them, and it wasn't working for me. And that's not to say I didn't have success in my business, because I did, but I a lot of times felt not enough. I felt like I wasn't good enough, like I wasn't doing enough. Like, when Diane said that, why can't I be successful like what they're doing? I feel like I'm doing all the same things that they're doing. And sometimes, just to be honest, I thought like I'm a better trainer than they are, or I'm a better speaker, or my class was better than their class, and what's missing? And I felt like I would give time and pour into my consultants, and I couldn't figure out, like I couldn't make the connection. And it's this work. And so all of that stuff, the balance between the training and the coaching, all that it was doing for me was like continuing to validate my not enough story. So that just sucked, and it adjusted how like my energy showed up. And then when you're trying to speak with people, with prospects or interviews, or even customers, knowing how to communicate with them, how to be most effective, how I learned to listen, and to know that I did not have to have the answers to anyone's problems or issues or struggles anymore. I just had just a few simple, like Sean has so much knowledge and just an incredible giving heart of gold, as you can tell. I mean, a couple $100. And look, and I'll be straight with y'all, there was a period in time in my life that I could not pay my light bill, let alone put on a couple $100, like, to get into a program. But I invite you to figure out a way to make it happen, because this has the potential, as Sean said earlier, to just blow the roof off of your life and your business. And in a worst case scenario, like, what's the worst that will happen? You're going to be in a community with people who are learning coaching skills. So let's just like think about this for a second. For you to be plugged into people who are trying to learn these skills, y'all, that's like free coaching that you have access to while you're in this program. Hello, the benefit of that is worth 100 times what you're going to pay to get into this program, even if it did nothing else. Even if it did nothing else. But imagine if you could just help one consultant, one team member. You could have a conversation that's more empowering with your prospects, so that even if they do say no, they walk away feeling good and empowered. And maybe they become a customer, or maybe they come back a year, 6 months, whatever later. Maybe they don't, but they leave feeling good. Like, for me, that's why I got in this business. And these skills, for me, they didn't take away from anything else. I still taught people how to overcome objections. I still taught people how to close a sale, how to, do the travel roll-up bag close in my business. That was important. Or how, to effectively recruit or get people on three-way calls and things like that. I still did all of those things. This was just an add-on. Like, this was just an addition. So I would love to see you in the space. I would love to be able to share in your transformation. And if you just could take one thing from this, I promise you it'll be worth the investment. And the fact that you have a money back guarantee, I mean, I hope you say yes. I do, for you and for the lives of the people that you haven't even met yet, that you're going to be able to serve because you have these skills. So thank you. I'm excited for who the winner is. I appreciate your time. And Sean, you know how I feel about you. I'm so grateful for what you do and how you pour in and how you serve our community. You are a gift.
Oh, well, thank you for that. I received that, and thank you for all that you do as well, and everything that you just said. You got a lot of people that are also saying, thank you, Michelle, you're speaking my story, and so forth. So thank you for all of that. I appreciate it so much. So as we wrap up here, let's get to the winner. So what I have, I see, as of right now, I see 37 people still on the webinar. So I have a random number generator that's going to pick a number between 1 and 37. And that number is 30. So what I'm going to do is count backwards: 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So the winner looks like Sherry Crean. Sherry Crean, please come on down. You are the next contestant. So Sherry, what I want you to do is respond to any of the emails that we've sent you, and we'll make sure that we get you on the calendar for this 60-minute coaching session, and we'll just go from there. So if you guys have any problems at all, or questions from what I said, or problems joining the program, if you're trying to get in the program, somebody says the discount is not working, make sure it's capitalized, capital D, capital S, and then 200. And if that still doesn't work, then just email me, and we'll get you taken care of. So with that, everyone, I hope this webinar has been valuable for you. I want you to implement, and I want you to share with me how you've implemented, so that I know what you've done, and I can help celebrate in your success. So with that, have a wonderful evening. For those of you that are jumping in the program, I can't wait to connect with you and teach you all the stuff that I've been studying for so many years. And if you're not jumping in the program, then I can't wait until our paths cross in another way. Take care, everyone. Good night. We'll talk to you soon.